In this video, I'll look at the rule of thirds as a device for composition and framing to get our cameras set up. First, in a scene, make sure you're showing your safe frame, that only what's rendering is actually showing in the view, and you can do this by pressing Shift F. There's the full screen or full viewport, and Shift F now borders that with a yellow frame, showing me within my 1280 by 720 frame actually what will render. Now I'll get the camera set up. Let's say, for example, I start out my camera here. This is a really dead shot, actually. There's nothing to pull the viewer's eye in, and I'll explain why. I'm going to take a screen capture of this image and bring it into Photoshop and put some grids over it to illustrate. Here in Photoshop, I've turned on my rulers by pressing Ctrl R, and I'll bring some over, roughly on the third lines, or as well as I can. There's 1/3 in, and here's another 1/3 in, roughly. When we start to divide an image, what we want to do is look at it in thirds and place major objects of interest on the third lines. At the moment, there's nothing on a third line or intersection to draw the audience in. This big wall with a mural back here is sitting there, just flat in the center, and there's nothing engaging in here. Now I'll reorient the camera and bring it back in here to illustrate when the rule of thirds are used correctly. Here in my scene, I'll pan the camera over and use my orbit tool to orbit that camera, spinning it over and aligning the lights here and the seats on that third line, with this seat right here at that intersection of the thirds. The other minor third accent is the canopy roof, so I have balance. There's one on the top left and one on the lower right, roughly on the third lines, to pull the audience into that space. I'll lay this over my third grid and see what it looks like. This is much better. What we can see here is that the lamps and the seating are both on intersections, pulling the viewer's eye in on the right side third. Additionally, the canopy roof is roughly on that third, so we have balance from upper left to lower right. What this does then is to draw your eye in, as if you were standing there in the scene, looking over the seats and down the concourse, maybe waiting for somebody to emerge from, you guessed it, on the third line, the track tunneled C and D. It's a terrific tool for composing, lining up the major objects or major focal points in the scene on one of the intersections on a third grid. And we can use this in any size frame to draw the audience's eye into our scene and make them feel like they're part of the action.